Thank y'all for allowing us to take just a minute break. We're going to resume our March 22nd, 2012 budget hearings. At this time, I've had some requests, if y'all don't mind, if we can go down each of the nonprofits and discuss those quickly. We're going to begin with the Rutherford County Civil Defense Coordinator. That is our portion. We're paying Mr. Allen, or I think now it's actually right now, acting Tim Hooker, but that's what that goes to. Next, we're going to go to the Rutherford County Rabies Control, which is better known as PAWS. As everyone knows, we have had major difficulty. I know our co-director, myself, several have tried on several occasions to meet with their director to set up so we can do our animal control ordinances, improve those. Here it is budget, and after what, a year, he's decided to contact us back.
Yeah.
I am not happy with them at all. They assured us last year if we would up them the money, that they would be here at a beckoning call. That has not happened. So the floor is open for any suggestions as to what anyone would like to do here.
They're not going to show up. Let's just take it all out.
Well, we've got to have
something.
some means. We don't have a means to get.
Well, let's bump it down to 10. Take 5 more away from them. See if they're willing to show up and come.
I mean, we
Improve it.
have a
I
good
mean-
argument and we have a good case on this. If they say, you know, we gave them money, they won't come. So, I mean, we can certainly argue that point, and if they'd like to stand up here, we can certainly drill them. We can invite them. So, Vice Mayor wants to knock it down to 10, and
I mean, it's
totally up to this board.
my thought. Maybe y'all got a different one. I mean,
That's fine. I mean, I just think that they'll come back as they did, and they'll ask for more. They've already asked for 27, right? So, you know, they'll be back here again asking for more.
I mean, they're gonna have, to me, they're gonna have to show us something.
I agree.
I know it's hard. That's all right.
I
It's
don't
hard
think
to look.
I don't think I have them.
Well, I'll tell you, we'll.
You know, if they wanted 27, is that what you said? You almost wonder what we could pay somebody.
Well, we've
And-
had
and
that
nuisance.
discussion before as well. Our only
You know,
thing
hire
is-
somebody that we could call. that
Well,
would show
we
up and do it.
discussed about,
I mean, there was a pit bull last night, bit somebody.
did I? And there's been several occasions that's happened, and it's
And they
been-
haven't come.
They did not come.
I mean, I
Do
don't
they
know.
provide any activity reporting to the city? You'd think if they're getting that kind of money, they would report to you all on a regular basis how many calls they make and time they spend, et cetera.
I know I've had to call them, and it took a week and a half to get them to come out for a dog that had already disappeared.
Phyllis, are there any statistics in their request as far as what calls they've answered or anything?
It's it says in City of Laverne for the fiscal year 10-11, calls received 2,090. Based
Did they show
on
up? None.
based on current appropriations of 21,000, that's $10.05 per call. Impounds, there was 461 dogs, 376 cats, and 88 other, for a total of 925 impounds. Bites and rabies exposure reports for 2011 was 59.
But you can't count the number of calls they received. How many did they respond to and take an action on? 2090 is that's not an accurate figure in my opinion.
And they
'Cause
tried to give
there
us
was a whole lot of calls that I've been told about before I started over there where they never showed up.
They didn't, and I've heard the radio myself. I'm sure you and Tom have too.
I mean, it could be
They do
15 or
not
20
show up.
calls for the same animal
And I don't know that I've ever seen them here, personally.
driving through.
They don't
Well,
ever come over there.
we'll,
I've seen them in my neighborhood.
Have you?
I've seen the truck in the neighborhood.
They must have your address and they
Not
go,
recently, but I've seen them in the past.
I don't believe I've ever seen them
Every time I see them, I go.
on Oakwood Cove anyway.
I do it, I hit them.
The only thing I'm aware of, Tuxedo lives on Woodland Hills just down on the left, and Tuxedo got put in doggy jail twice last year, I know that.
In 4 or 5 months, you know, I don't ride the street daily, but I
I have seen.
The complaint that I always get is you have to keep a visual on them, or they'll bring you out a cage, and if the animal is caught, then they'll come out and get it. But whether it's a police officer or if it's just a resident, who's going to follow a dog around? I mean, that's what we're paying them for, so, you know, I mean,
I actually caught a raccoon in a cage, and it wouldn't come out.
they wouldn't come out.
Well, let's mark that down and then they can come in and plead their case and we can go from there. Next, we have the Chamber of Commerce Economic Development.
We took that down to 10, right?
Yes,
Okay.
the Rabies down to 10. Chamber of Commerce,
We're getting back to
Pause.
the rabies control now. What do we want?
Ken. Sorry. All right, next is the Chamber of Commerce Economic Development, 23.
13.
Okay. And
Somebody else's guess.
Let me give you my feelings on this. I mean, let's not cut off our nose to spite our face. I mean, our big goal is to bring some retail in here.
I mean, I'm just
And-
throwing 13 out there. I don't know
And
what.
I don't, some of these other ones, I'd like to understand what the 40,000 to destination.
Right.
Before we cut the Chamber of Commerce economic, I see if they'll come down the next meeting.
I'm for that too.
I don't think we cut that.
I'm fine with that.
all righty. We got that, Phil's gonna leave it and ask them to please come and talk with us.
If they don't come, we cut it.
Okay. The Meals on Wheels.
Mayor-
This is something, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, on this one, they actually had requested 5,000 for the Meals on Wheels,
Uh-huh.
and then the dues is 35.85, and transportation,
They lowered.
yes, was 500, and Homemaker was 650.
I would love to give the Meals on Wheels,
Or we just took 5 away from Paul's.
Actually, the Homemaker program, they had asked for 750.
okay?
Well,
Five-
then we took it away, they might come down here and check the case, we might try to give them back. That's just preliminary.
And we can readjust these at that time then too. So,
Okay,
But I'd like to, if they ask for 5 for Meals on Wheels, I think it does more than Paul's does.
give them 5 and then increase their transportation back to 1,000, that put 2,500 of that into something we know that's valuable anyway.
okay, 5.
The Meals on Wheels is a
Now, they asked for 5.
They only asked for,
They only asked for
So
But it's showing
But-
through.
but we took away 500 for their transportation.
no.
No, they only asked for 5.
No, go down to,
They only asked for 5.
I follow, I follow.
thought you
Oh,
said
for
that.
500, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I thought
thought
you were
they-
saying 5,000.
No, no,
I
no.
thought, that's
no.
what I thought. They
They
asked
asked
for
I'm sorry.
5,000 and we gave them
But
3,000.
they did ask for the 750, we can make the 650 the 750.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna take 750.
2,100 we're adding, correct?
yes, well,
Yes,
yes,
21, yeah.
okay.
So what did we change there?
All right, we're giving them 5,000. We're keeping the 3585, keeping the 500, and moving the 650 to 750.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody with us? Next, we have the Smyrna Laverne Assistance Coalition. They asked for 35, and we gave them 35.
Actually, the Smyrna Laverne Assistance Coalition, they asked for 7,000.
Okay.
What's that do? Is that the one that helps with the bills?
Yes.
Someone asked a good question, and how are we certain that money stays in the line?
No, we are not.
That's,
No.
is that the one that helped with utilities and stuff?
Yes.
too?
What they do, that it is exactly what it states. It is Smyrna Laverne, the first come, first serve, at the first of the month is who gets it. I believe that's the way it was explained to us. So no, that is not an assurance that Smyrna people get it. Not at all.
Or Laverne people.
I mean Laverne people, I'm sorry.
And we actually upped them 2,000 project.
Yeah, we gave them 1,500 last year, and we've upped it to 3,500 this year. The Smyrna Laverne Food Bank, we kept the same, 3,500.
And I looked at that, and they helped quite a few in Laverne, didn't they?
I'll tell you, I think where people are getting a lot of stuff confused, we have the Laverne Methodist Church here, who has a food bank, and they also, the Smyrna Laverne Food Bank does help. But I think sometimes there's confusion, because the Laverne Methodist, First United Methodist Church does give out, I think, quite a bit of food.
Every Wednesday.
Yes, yes. And I'm kind of thinking some people get that confused with the Smyrna Laverne Food Bank.
And that's-
Both of them do a great job.
And that one's in Laverne? They help
The-
just Laverne people? The Methodist?
The Methodist, I can't attest to that.
Whoever's in need.
I would say in a church, it's probably who comes forward and asks for help.
Can we add them in there?
The CASA, we left at 1,500. The Child Advocacy Center, we gave 3,000 to. Now, this was the one y'all were discussing. We did up it $2,000 more dollars. What was what they asked for?
The child advocacy?
Yeah.
Hey.
35 last
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They
year,
are-
in the prior years.
They're asking for 6,000.
Can we split the difference and go maybe 5?
Sure.
Mhm.
I'm fine with that.
How are we?
5,000?
Yeah.
Still only up 4,100.
Okay, we don't have a choice on your Greater Nashville Regional Council. That's next is Box 100.
We took 9,000 from last year. Are they, we kept Rescue Squad, even though we moved them into contract services, the same actually gave them a little more, so, but I don't wanna.
On some of these, would we like to have them come forward?
Sure.
On the Box 100, they did not give us all the documentation that we had requested. We had requested a letter of request, a financial statement, and their 501c3, and we did not get any of their financial information.
Oh.
We got a copy of their previous month's bank statement with their current balance, but no financial statement.
We have to have, that's
So
what
in all
we,
reality, if they're not gonna give us what's required,
And
kind
also
of throws
on
a problem in there, doesn't it?
on their 501c3, it's really not a 501c3.
we got,
It's not showing them as a 501c3.
we gotta have it. Gotta have it.
What's it showing us?
All she provided me was the letter that, where the IRS assigns them an EIN number.
And that's several years
Does
old.
that EIN number, it doesn't show, that's not,
And that's several years old at that, isn't it?
that's just where you can be well, if you're tax exempt,
It doesn't even show them as being tax exempt. I mean,
I
And-
say bring them forward, and they don't bring all the documentation.
I mean, it's an excellent organization, but we gotta do what's right. If they're not gonna give us the right paperwork,
So bring them forward.
just put a question mark by that. Now, what are we gonna do?
I left her a message this morning when I realized that she didn't send in everything. I haven't heard back from her.
Put a question mark. Gotta have it. Powell, we gave 3, and the Laverne boxing, we gave 3.
And Powell is asking for 7, and Laverne Boxing didn't put any amount on theirs. They just send in
Well,
their
they're-
information.
They're used to just getting 3. That's all they were ever given.
While you're talking about boxing,
Mhm.
FOP's very involved in that, and the fishing tournament's coming up first part of June. I'll get everybody information on that, so if you know anybody who wants to fish, do the tournament, I'll get everybody that info, and you can help us put that out there, so they'll
And-
help FOP help a little bit more with boxing too.
Yes. and
Golf
they're-
tournament's coming up too.
Yeah, they're very, very involved with the boxing.
Yes.
Now, contrary to popular belief, PAL is not a police-funded organization. It has nothing to do with the police.
You know how many kids they have over there now? Quite a few,
Yeah,
isn't it?
boxing.
In boxing?
I don't have an updated count, and I apologize for that.
Larry Flowers did a story there yesterday, probably for next week, and they said on any given day they have 50 to 60 kids.
I say we give them some more.
Well, can we jump, well, let's jump down here to the,
Is that the Laverne Boxing? On their letter,
Knockout, it's,
Club Knockout.
Yeah, club
Yeah.
knockout.
if we
in their
jump,
letter, they say that they have, Youth League enables children from age 8 to 18 to join their club, to work out and learn boxing skills with the head coach and former pro boxer Keith McKnight. At this time, we have approximately 15 to 25 in the gym Monday through Friday. This is from Cindy Murphy.
And it picks up from time to time, a little more than that, and every now and then you get an old guy by the name of Atkin that kind of works part-time as a police officer, and
well, if we go down
he'll
here
do
to
a
the
match for a little bit of fundraising.
Destination Rutherford, we were talking about it a while ago. Didn't want to, we changed that.
we did, we checked, that's the 10,000 we're
Well, that's
working
what I was gonna
on.
say, I didn't know.
But boxing didn't ask for any more? Maybe that's just because
They didn't even actually mention the amount on their, they didn't request a certain dollar amount. It just says, this is to request a donation to our 501c3 program for the year.
And that's, they pretty much, that's what they've always just gotten, the 3,000. So I guess they were,
I think they are coming to the board at your next meeting. They're 1,500 short of being able to keep the gym open through the end of the fiscal year. So they're coming to the board to set up one of those bucket collections to see
Yeah,
if they
they're
can
gonna-
get approval for that.
So they don't run into it next year, why don't we give them a couple thousand more?
Make it 5.
make it 5.
Maybe.
How much of that 10 now have we,
61.
okay? The rest of them, the health department, the RTA, the reason this has increased, the south quarter of the RTA, we received a federal grant with all the cities that are involved in the RTA. That grant is to subsidize it for 3 years. That is our portion of the grant to the park and ride. That is, they're upping the times. We're getting many more times and stops during this to see if they can pick up on the people that will be willing to ride the park and ride. So that is our portion.
Now, did we change the Destination Rutherford down to,
30?
30.
So we
Well,
took
it's
away
10.
20, actually 21, and we added,
Wait a minute, where did we take the other? Oh, yeah,
yeah,
you're
up there
right.
at 5?
I forgot about that.
That's the reason I was asking, because we had took 5 here and
I
wanting to
forgot
get
about
down here.
that.
but actually off of last year's, we took 11, right? Because we gave clause 21,
21.
and so we cut them down to 10 this year,
Mm-hmm.
at least right now, anyway.
Y'all are exactly right.
Can we make the
21.
destination 20?
You say 20?
Make the Destination Rutherford 20? If they want to jump it back up, they can come talk to us. Provide us with some information.
Another organization right now that's trying to get 501c3 status, and once they do, I think would be one to consider, is the Tennessee Zero
Yeah,
Task Force. They don't have it yet.
yeah, they don't have theirs yet.
10-0 had someone who was supposed to be apparently pro bono helping get that paperwork done and so on. Nothing has been done on it, so they've moved to someone else. And as soon as they get that done, then we'll be coming to the board asking you to allow us to lease space to them at a very nominal fee in the substation, which will give us someone occupying the substation a little more often. There's plenty of space there, and it will have to be a lease agreement, even if, Evan said, even if it's just $1. There'll have to be an agreement there and something signed, but we'll be coming to you down the road once the paperwork's done for the corporation and the 501c3. And hopefully that'll be done this time.
We've pretty much cut, let's get these people here and let's talk. And then, to me, we'll know more about what we have and be thinking about if this does transpire, we do. If we want to move that back into the general fund to pay for something else, or if we want to up something here.
I don't mind helping any of them. They're gonna help our citizens in
Yeah,
our community.
exactly.
So
But
But if they're not helping us
ones,
out,
the ones that we're
there's no
gonna
need in giving them
invite,
money.
would be,
Chamber,
yes,
Box 100,
yes, and pause.
Paul's.
Mhm. Yep.
Cause I'll be honest, I'd like to put some money in Crime Stoppers if it helps solve some crimes.
Yeah, see, we had to take away from that before, so,
I mean, how much do we have left out of the, whatever we were looking at,
They haven't requested anything this year,
They-
Crime Stoppers.
yeah.
We didn't donate to them last year, and
Mhm.
the ones that hardly ever request their money, even after we have, voted and given them money, Crime Stoppers hardly ever ask for their money. I have to call them every year at the end of the year. The Health Department, I would have to call them, and Paul's, I would have to call them.
So if you're, yeah,
Those are the ones that I always have to call. And I just called Paul's last week, and he and I had a conversation, and, he apologized. He had, was now doing.
Chief, you know, people use Crime Stopper a lot, they call and give information.
They do. I don't know that we have all that many, and part of the problem in the past being that Laverne usually had someone go to the meetings that we have. We hosted it. I invited you all to come and participate in that, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks
I guess
ago.
it was. And we had a good crowd here. And I think part of the problem is we never really advertised it here. And we had things going on, which will be something we will be doing once we can get in.
In Murfreesboro, you'll see a lot of signs, like on the
Yes.
side of the road, it says Crime Stopper call. I ain't seen none of them signs in Laverne.
Nope. There haven't been hardly anything with it. That's one of the things that we discussed, who the representative was, and apparently it just fell by the wayside, kind of like the alarm permit stuff too. And they'll crank back up hopefully down the road when we can get these new folks hired and get that community liaison officer out there and
Can we put the money aside for the 10?
put that
Zero?
information
You
in.
have to put,
well, we
I know we're
can't,
waiting
because legally we can't, because they're
until
not.
they have it, okay.
We asked. Because we can't even lease them the thing.
I got you.
until
I
they-
got you.
yeah. All right,
Can I recap
yes,
the
yes.
nonprofits? We're going to leave the Rutherford County Civil Defense at 8,400. We're going to reduce Paul's to 10,000. We're going to leave Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development the same, but contact them, invite them to a workshop. Meals on Wheels, we're going to increase by 2,100. 2,000 for the Meals on Wheels and 100 for the homemaker. We're going to leave Smyrna Laverne Assistance Coalition at 3,500, the Smyrna Laverne Food Bank at 3,500, the CASA at 1,500, the Child Advocacy is going to be, we're going to change that to 5,000. We're going to leave GNRC the same. We're going to leave Box 100 the same, but require their documentation. We're going to leave PAL at 3,000. We're going to increase, we're going to leave Yeah, we're gonna leave Powell at 3,000, and we're gonna increase boxing to 5,000. We're gonna leave Rutherford County Health Department at 4, RTA at 19,555, Mid-Cumberland Human Resource at 3,000, Chamber of Commerce Convention and Tourism at 15,000, and Chamber of Commerce Destination Rutherford at 30,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, but we'll see what transpires, and we can do a lot more. We still have a good time here, but this is a good place to start. Wonderful. All right, Parks and Recreation.
Cut it off.
Parks and Rec, we're moving some staff around. Going to have more part-time employees on the payroll instead of contracting out. The 83,500 is the allocation from seniors for the senior staff. Health insurance went up a little bit. We moved the old-timers expense back to Parks and Rec this year. We added the expense line for the 4th of July. We increased the water usage to 50,000 because their actual water usage has gone up, or we're getting better numbers now since we started billing a couple of years ago, so we're getting true numbers now. And the other professional services, that's where we're using Ronstadt staffing. We're no longer going to be doing that. Repair and maintenance will stay the same. We increased the motor vehicle repair by 500. We increased repair and maintenance grounds by 500. We increased repair and maintenance buildings by 2,000. Increased travel by 300. Increased small items equipment by 1,500. Increased agriculture and horticulture by 1,000. Increased maintenance, repair and maintenance supplies by 200. I'm sorry, increased clothing uniforms by 200. Increased the repair and maintenance supplies by 5,000. Increased the fuel by 500. Increased programs by 3,000. Increased the league expenses by 2,500. Increased the children's program by 6,000, and then we added the senior baseball field and the seal coat striping. And they also have, in debt service, one vehicle.
And we also did the match for the grant, the 137
Yes, that will be,
split. 137 for 12-13 and then 250 for 13-14.
that's correct.
Overtime for old timers.
That was one question, is the man hours for Old Timers Festival. Are we gonna be able to charge that to a line item number, or is that gonna go to the overtime for all the departments that were affected?
I think Fred is going to look at utilizing staff that are like part-time people that won't go into the overtime. But that will just be included in regular wages. It doesn't get broke out.
Did that not count against you last year, though? Didn't it take a
Right.
big chunk of your overtime?
It did.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's,
The price of overtime, old timer day, y'all got is 24,000. And that's not including the employee work.
That is correct.
That's not.
That's what we were talking about, if we could charge
Right.
actual
Yeah,
man hours to that.
you can't charge man hours to that line item because all pay related has to stay in the line items that are set up for pay because of tax filings and 941s and reconciling that. We can't.
Does anybody actually know what we spend on, what we spend on old time today? Man hours and everything?
We had budgeted 24,000, we had enough donations not including overtime hours, where I think out of that 24,000 that was budgeted to us, we took maybe $300 or $400. So we left over 23,000. Then we got hit with the man hours, which each department absorbed, and you said it was about 16,000.
Approaching 17,000.
Yeah. So we underspent what had been spent before because of people like Missy, who helped and really worked hard to raise money because we had it structured differently. People paid a little bit more.
And correct me if I'm wrong, in years past, we paid 35, 40,000 because it
Yes.
was spread out. This year, we were in the black,
Yes,
6,500
Yes.
ballpark is.
yes.
And reason you were even there that close is because of a glitch, because of this, overtime. Because I remember when we first sat down, overtime was not going to be charged.
Correct.
And,
Because of one.
right, so, had it gone the way it was planned, we would
We
have
would have
been.
been 300, we would have spent about 300 to 500 out of that 24,000.
And then the revenues that we brought in over and above,
Right.
so.
To answer your question, you know, there's probably not enough dollars in there to cover overtime if we have the same situation happen.
I can't speak for streets or PD or some of the other departments that are affected by Old Timers Festival with the current work structure that we've got now, with my scheduling and having a rotation, that shouldn't occur the overtime that we did last year. Last year, the department was working Monday through Friday, basically 7 to 3:30, and I had to eat all that Saturday and Sunday time. That's not the case now. My guys are still on a 4-10 rotation in there for, you know, I have somebody off during the week, so that I have at least 2 or 3 people in the park. But again, that doesn't help Chief with the parade and Greg Skinner with his putting cones out and stuff of that nature, but for my department and that overtime, I think we'll be okay this year.
I think one of the biggest issues we had this year was because of the expansion of it,
The unknown.
the unknown that was there, plus we had the carnival we almost had to keep somebody over there with the kids for the most part, keeping an eye on them full-time, doing nothing but that. Then we had to have an eye on the ATM, plus the perimeter stuff too. So I think that was the biggest issue for us this year, was the length of time and the number of people and not knowing what we were gonna have to have. And speaking of which, I just whispered in Jeff's ear, we just had 2 carloads of kids over there at the park who were wanting to fight, and that's why I stepped out. I just found out one of the vehicles came back as a stolen vehicle out of Metro. I asked Chip, were they gangbangers? He said it looks like that's a possibility, males and females, and now they're saying there's weapons supposed to be there somewhere. So
Wow.
that gives you an idea of some of the things that he contends with over there on a regular day in, day out basis. And we make regular rounds through there, particularly at nights and weekends when school's out, just because of that.
And Jeff, we moved your dump truck, because you said you could wait on that, move that to next year.
Especially if Public Works is getting one, or Stormwater has one, that if I need it,
Yeah,
I've got a small 3/4 ton truck with a dump truck bed for my needs now. If I have anything bigger than that, I'll coordinate with Public Works or Stormwater, either one. So,
and I was thinking this striping was coming out of this year.
no, ma'am.
I mean, okay.
We gave them 6 for trucks.
It's, there,
That was the 6 spread over 4 years.
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
going on the
Service
list.
and regular-
Purchase
I feel
plan.
better about
Yeah,
that.
they're
I
on
thought
the-
it was
Did we-
$6,000 to buy 2 trucks.
No,
Okay.
Did you completely take out anything for any other parks? I know we talked about it, we thought,
we moved them to 13, 14.
okay. So Heritage, Lake Forest.
Mhm.
Any other Parks and Rec questions? If not, we can move on to library. As I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the library revenues, we moved have combined the 124 fund in the general fund. In speaking with MTAS and speaking with Evan, the library special revenue fund is really not a certified special revenue fund, so we are able to combine those two together. And I did combine the two line items. If there were any line items alike, I combined them together. And out to the side, you'll see some notations where I have moved on the screen in front of you. You'll see notations of what I moved the dollar amounts. Teresa has requested that one of her employees be reclassified as salary. That's why you'll see the salary line now includes 3 salaried people. I believe we added 1 part-time person.
Mm-hmm. And because she wanted the overdrive media more.
Right.
And the e-books. That, and then you went on and got your BYK
Yes, this year.
this year.
It's fabulous.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's 1 additional part-time and the overdrive media
Yes.
for next year. Thank
And
you.
the
She's like, let's go now.
Christmas time.
there was 3 things. The e-books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ebooks were considered part.
Of,
With
if
the
they
overdrive
went together with the
media.
Oh,
overdrive.
okay. Yeah, you got the overdrive media. Okay. And the-
E-books and the part-time.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Moving on down to economic development. There's not a lot of expense in this department. There's $300 for printing and stationery. There's some ISCS membership and then ICSC travel.
And what I believe y'all will start seeing this now. We're trying to consolidate everything where it's supposed to be. Like in economic development, anything that's dealing with that, we've moved it to here. Like any travel or membership, anything, that goes here.
I don't know if there's any other increased travel, but shouldn't that be down about 2,000? Or are we not banking on the chamber paying for our?
I'll be honest with you, Tom. We wasn't quite sure.
All right.
And so we thought just to be safe, we would, and then see, because we'll know the true
Okay.
cost this year, because I think they supposedly upped it one where they're paying.
Okay.
So, just because it's there doesn't mean we have to
Have to
spend.
spend it.
We just felt a little more comfortable until we figure out for sure what it entails.
Okay.
I mean, we can certainly lower it if y'all are comfortable, but that's our thinking, we just didn't know.
Moving on down to public relations. This is a new department that we've set up. Consists of 2 employees. We don't have a good feel of some of the expenses that are required in this department, so we're going to track those expenses. Some of the expenses will be charged to IT this year, and we're going to track those and then rebudget them next year in the proper place. We did-
Again, this was another one that was scattered everywhere. They had old timers here, employee, it was just scattered. So this is what we're trying to do, is clean this up as well, so we can see exactly
Right.
what this department is.
Employee relations, I never spent money out of it. Fred did that for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I asked Phyllis, why wouldn't that go to Fred's department instead of PR?
Right. We did combine all the little public relation line items that were in the different departments and combine them and consolidate those in this department now. That's the $29,550. That had been spread. There was 500 in legislative, 300 in the city admin, 500 in the city hall, 4,500 in police, 500 in the fire marshal, 500 in parks, 250 in the library. So now that's all consolidated under public relations, under the public relations department. And we also added in this budget the welcome signs that Kathy had asked for, $1,600.
To be determined.
Okay.
Welcome to Laverne, gateway of Rutherford County.
And the next section down is our debt service. These are our predetermined bond principal and interest payments. And if you'll notice, some of them now have zero out beside them for this next budget year. That means that we had one bond to drop off. Don't get excited, because the way those were structured, when one would drop off, we would start paying more principal on another. So if you'll notice that, let's see, which one was it? Bond number two, the bond for 2000, the 2006 bond is 49000-605. We're starting to pay more principal on that. Normally we pay about $18,000. It's going up to $336,000. So that kind of offsets the 01 bond that's dropping off. Down at the bottom, we have did some rough estimates for the vehicle lease purchase plans and the radios and the CAD system. I think we'll be pretty close on our numbers as far as the financing portion of it. If anything, we're probably going to be under, hopefully. We don't have the exact numbers, therefore I have just kind of penciled those in for now.
And we were very conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were doing our projections, we would go under as opposed to over.
Yeah, on the revenue cycle especially.
Yeah.
We tried to be conservative there because that can swing either way. You can have one line item that knocks it out of the ballpark and another one that doesn't. So, but, and then the very last section is our operating transfers. We have the $137,000 that will be transferred to capital projects parks for the Hurricane Creek project. We have $30,000 that goes to the drug fund, and then we have $35,300 that we transfer every year to the senior citizens fund. That brings our total expenses to $15,853,509, and if we switch back over here to the revenue page where I have the summary, that leaves us with a surplus of $83,931. Now, Ricky did mention to me, the only thing I changed the whole time we've been talking today is the $15,000 that we took out of from Hot Box. I think that was the only monetary change. Now, unless we have some change from the nonprofits. But in total, if we don't make any other changes, we should have a surplus of $83,000. Talked to Ricky. I guess he stepped out. He did talk to the chief, and the chief said that would be fine splitting the SCBA's.
Okay.
There'd be another
SBA's,
102.
whatever they are.
102.
Yeah.
That would go with that, in order to do that they wanted to go toward that
Truck.
So that would be 104 toward the 132, and if the board wants to take the rest of it out of this 83, then we will.
Well, the $15,000 for the hot box, so that's
Well, that's in-
$115,000.
that's in the
In that, okay.
So actually, we're only coming up with 117.
And let's make sure they understand money has been put into our, I call it the health fund. Well, I don't know
Yes.
if that's the proper, but where we're self-insured, we need to keep 13% in there at all times. Our 13% would be roughly $450,000. I told her I wanted to keep it at least $500. Of course, when you increase your employees, that's going to increase. So, but we have to keep it in there, keep it within those realms. I don't ever want that to get low again.
Not like it was.
No, well, not under my watch, so.
So is the board in agreement that we are going to add that $132,000 truck?
Yes.
Okay, I will plug that in here.
Now, please go back, study what we had, study what we've changed. Make sure, just like we inadvertently, and we just talked about the code red, we're like, oh my gosh. So make sure in each department, y'all, I know when you're looking at all these numbers, it's easy to look over something. Make sure, especially department heads, look at every little line. Make sure we've not forgotten something. Or make sure that that line item, we've got enough budgeted or, you know, like one we found, it was supposed to have been 500, it was 5,000.
Yeah.
We caught that. I mean, we've caught some of the, you know, you can accidentally hit a 0. So we're asking everybody to take a hard look. We're doing great on our time. I think we're doing great with what we have. Everybody's been very conservative. They've only taken what they needed, and it's going great. So, you know, just take your time, look at this, making sure in your department everything is exactly where it needs to be.
And I especially want to get with Jeff and Fred because I'm still not comfortable with what the changes we've made with the part-timers and the Ronstadt staffing. I want to review that again one more time with him and Fred, make sure we've got that covered because the numbers look a little low to me.
Okay. Any comments, questions, statements that want to be made?
Without looking like somebody that's standing up for Parks and Rec, I'm going to just throw something out there to think about. We have Brookside, we know we're going to push that off, but we did talk about whether it be the cemeteries, whether it be some kind of improvements. I don't know. I know you said it pushed back a year, but I just would like to maybe think about if there is extra money, if we can find something, if we can change something to maybe make some improvements. They've been put off for quite some time, and I know we're putting it off another year, but.
And I'll be honest, we were walking out there at the Lake Forest Park, and we have got to do something there.
Do you want me to get an estimate to bring back to the next budget?
Yeah, I didn't realize that it's very large. It is really large. But you know, it's kind of embraced by trees. If maybe we can do like, I don't know, we've got to do something. If nothing else, if we can get in touch with MTSU, any of these historical preservation, see if they can at least do the stones, repair them. Park was before Brookside. Which was first, Brookside or it? We need to go in order if possible.
Well, Brookside, and then I think you had Heritage was 10,000, and I think you had 40,000, 50 for Lake Forest. But you know, even if it's just like you said, the cast iron fencing or something that could do something out there.
Okay, and let's look. Yeah, if nothing else, if we maybe look at getting a play set, a swing set, or something at one of these areas. A little, you know, all of us can go out there and help do the. You know, I know you have to have a certain padding now under it. I apologize because I don't know the state stipulations for that for a public park. But anything that we can, you know, start one step at a time. It doesn't mean we can add one piece, whether it's a merry-go-round or a bench or something.
That's just an item that can be pushed back each year saying, well, we'll do it next year.
Yeah.
And really that's what's happened with them a lot of times.
Well, our thought process there, we were getting hit with that 300-something thousand. We didn't want to, people say,
Sure.
oh, all of it's going here and then all of it's going there. So we were trying to be conservative and give everybody a piece of pie. So
Just a thought, I believe.
I would love to get a soccer place, a soccer team going. If we had some kind of group that could come in here like the baseball and do soccer. I think that's a sport that's underestimated here because we used to take our kids to Smyrna to play soccer.
100 plus teams, right, over in Smyrna?
Mm-hmm. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got a couple of ideas now we can toy with. If it's a league that comes in, we were talking about maybe some simple goals. I know soccer, you know, the little work on the ground, but the goals and stuff. So, I mean, we've got other budgets that we can do. I mean, we've come a long way, especially we're way ahead this for being the first actual budget hearing. So, and our next one is
Wednesday,
the date on that.
28th, I believe.
Wednesday, March the 28th, here at 1 o'clock. Next Wednesday will be our second hearing, Wednesday, the 28th, at 1 o'clock. Do I have any other comments from anyone? Directors? Just get us your notes. Okay, if not, thank all of you for being here. I'll call this meeting adjourned. I went blank.